UFC 328 just took place with Khamzat Chimaev and Strickland, where they faced off in the main event with a really great fight, and it was a pretty decent card overall, and I'm going to recap and break down each of the fights, starting off with the early prelim opener, Jose Ochoa versus Clayton Carpenter. This was a very good performance from Jose Ochoa. I thought he was going to be able to get the finish here, but Clayton Carpenter, he hung tough throughout the entire fight, but he was getting beaten on for the large proportion of this one. Early on, Jose Ochoa, he was getting caught here and there with some nice punches from Clayton Carpenter because he just came forward with like reckless intent. I think he knew that Clayton wasn't going to be able to sting him with enough sort of shots to be able to bring him down with like a barrage of punches, and he knew that Clayton Carpenter, he doesn't really have that one-shot KO power, and Ochoa instantly just got on him, started throwing some really nice shots, slammed body shots early. He was like going double body shot, headshot, and it was really, really nice. You could see that that was part of the reason why Clayton Carpenter broke down so quickly, and sort of just came a punching bag for the last couple of rounds, but Carpenter, he just never was going to have enough power to be able to keep off Jose Ochoa. And every single round I was watching this and I thought that Clayton Carpenter was going to get finished off. But Jose Ochoa, he completely schooled him across the 3 rounds and got like a 30-27 decision, maybe even a 30-26. One of those rounds, it was really not competitive. He was just beating on Clayton Carpenter. And for Jose Ochoa, he's 25 years old. He's a very young prospect, and he's come up against some really good opponents in the flyweight division. He did come up short against Asu Almabayev, and he beat like Cody Durden. And the thing is that he has had those tough losses. He came up short against Lona Kavanagh as well. But now he's sort of going to be finding a groove. He's got like a good like progression in the UFC. I'm thinking one more and then a ranked opponent for him because he looked really good in this fight. Moving on though, for another prospect, it was Baisangur Sosakaya versus Jordan Santos. This was not a very impressive performance for who we think Baisangur Sosakayev is. I thought he was going to get the submission in this one early, but he ended up getting it in the last minute of the fight. And I think that we really do have to slow roll on Baisangur Sosakayev. Like, I knew he was going to get that submission, but I thought it was going to be earlier. And Jordan Santos earlier, he was defending the takedowns well, and in the boxing, he was looking quite clean. He was tagging up Sosakayev with some good shots. And Sosakayev, he was landing really nice kicks on Jordan Santos, but I think his boxing is a little bit weak. And Jordan Santos, to be fair, to give it to him, he does actually have pretty good boxing. He's got a slick jab. He defends quite well. His head movement is all right on the inside. And early on, he was looking really sharp. But round 2, it was another close round. But I thought Sosakayev was still in front. Just with those kicks, he was slamming leg kicks and body kicks into Jordan Santos. And then round 3, Santos really did slow down with the leg kicks. And he was sort of trudging forward, not really throwing anything other than a jab. And then late in the round, Sosakayev got the takedown and got the rear naked choke over Jordan Santos. It was like, it's always good to be getting finishes in the UFC, and it is impressive to do so, but he's not like the monster prospect some people make him out to be. And like, I know that he trains with a really good camp. He's a very young guy, 25 years old as well, especially in the middleweight division. But we should slow roll him here. Or not necessarily slow roll him, but don't put as much hype behind him. He's not the prospect that we once thought he was. Now, moving on to the next one, it's Pat Sabatini versus William Gomez. I'm pretty sure I predicted this one to a T. I thought it was going to be like a 30-27, 29-28 decision. I must say, though, Pat Sabatini, when he's winning, he is the worst fighter to watch. Every single Pat Sabatini fight, I'm sitting there and I'm just watching it thinking, nope, nothing's going to happen for the next minute and a half. Round 1, Pat Sabatini genuinely the entire time smudges William Gomez up against the cage. The entire round, William Gomez could really not get any shots off just because Pat Sabatini wasn't giving him any space. And Pat, he was working enough in the clinch, not really getting any strikes off. But Pat Sabatini in the clinch was just, he was doing enough to not get separated. He was going for the takedown enough times not to get separated. And the thing is that although it's boring, it's really hard to get Pat Sabatini off you. And then round 2, it was much the same thing. And there was about 1 minute on the feet where William Gomez did actually land more. I thought he outstruck Pat Sabatini like 3-1 in this round. But then he still got smudged against the cage for like 2 minutes. He got taken down for moments. William Gomez's takedown defense did look really good in this one. He looked well prepared, but just on the feet, he didn't have enough time to be able to do enough damage to Pat Sabatini, who is just a really good smudger. And then round 3, I thought William Gomez outstruck Pat Sabatini on the feet. And Sabatini, he did just smudge him a little bit more. It wasn't enough damage from William Gomez. I thought he could have won William Gomez. I wouldn't have minded if they gave it to him, because that third round, Sabatini did literally no damage at all. I think he landed like 1 or 2 straight right hands or something like that. And basically nothing else apart from grappling there. And William Gomez, he didn't have enough moments for me to confidently want to give it to him. So he gets outdone to a 29-28 decision. And Pat Sabatini is on quite a winning streak now. I want to see how many of that it is in a row for him. He's won a fair few fights. He's been looking dominant, that's for sure. He's so many grappling matches. 1, 2, 4 fights in a row. And his last loss was to Diego Lopez, who is a very good fight. And his wins are good, like Joe Anderson, Brito, Shepe Mariscal, William Gomez. Like, these are guys that are really respectable opponents on the outside of the UFC's ranking, unranked area there. Now, moving on, though, to a middleweight bout, it was Roman Kopylov versus Marco Tulio. Round 1, Tulio was looking great. His straight to the body was looking really good. He was doing some looping body shots as well, landing really nice leg kicks on Kopylov. Kopylov looked like he was getting reads, but he wasn't really throwing too much. Pretty like normal standard Kopylov performance early on. And Tulio, I did notice earlier, he was just throwing this naked right hand, lunging straight into the face. And although he was setting it up with body shots sometimes, it was also just beckoning Roman Kopylov to make the read and just throw a straight left hand there. Round 2, it was a slow-ish start. Tulio started to get caught like a minute or 2 into the round, but then he started to like win the round back, landed like a really nice, I think it was like a straight left hand that cut below Roman Kopylov's eye and also above Kopylov's eye, and it looks like Kopylov was wilting for a moment, and then the momentum just switched and Kopylov landed a missile of a straight left hand, dropping Marco Tulio really badly. And for some reason, Roman Kopylov just decides, now that I've dropped Marco Tulio, the best time now is to smudge him up against the cage and let him recover for the next 45 seconds. And he did just let Marco Tulio survive those moments. Tulio was hurt so bad. And then round 3, same thing again. Roman Kopylov instantly into the round, drops Marco Tulio, and then just starts smudging him up against the cage. Now, look, I just think he was super tired, but he should have been able to get Marco Tulio out then. But round 3, Roman Kopylov, after the knockdown, he really didn't do too much after that. He was landing like a couple of shots here and there. He was landing his own body shots on Tulio in moments. And Kopylov, he was just faster than Marco Tulio in every moment of this fight. Like, everything he throws is a little bit cleaner, a little bit sharper. And that's always going to be the case with Roman Kopylov. He's always going to be the faster guy. It's just if he can actually get his shots off. And he was just able to outdo Marco Tulio and just win the decision. It was a good performance from Tulio. It's good for him to get back into the winning column as well. He looked not bad, but I don't think he's going to be a ranked guy at any point in his career again. Moving on, though, to the next one. Crazy moment. Jim Miller, the underdog, gets it done over Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon, he's fumbled another one of these. Gets submitted by a guillotine by Jim Miller. And the one thing about this fight that kind of annoys me is that I just don't understand, because I feel like he should have really been able to get it done. Like, Jared Gordon should have definitely won this one. There's no reason why he shouldn't have got it done. Like, in every aspect, he's better on the feet than Jim Miller. He's sharper, he's a little bit faster, he's more powerful. On the ground, he's not nearly as good as Jim Miller, but he should have known that. He has better takedown defense than Jim Miller. The one way he would have lost this is by shooting bad takedowns or just winging overhands on the feet. And early on, he was landing some decent-ish shots. Jim Miller tagging him back with some lead hooks. And Jim Miller, the thing is that if you aren't the same level of grappler as him, he is just going to submit you. And He did that easily here with Jared Gordon. When Jared Gordon, he was doing all right on the feet and then just shoots a bad takedown. I think he gets out of one guillotine and then they get back up, shoots another bad takedown, gets guillotined. And Jared Gordon falls short yet again, and Jim Miller gets another veteran victory for him. Moving on, we've got Grant Dawson versus Mateusz Rebecki. You see, I had a couple of bad predictions in a row here. I went with Marco Tulio, I went with Jared Gordon, and I went with Rebecki. But the other two, I kind of feel like they were all right picks. There was good reasons for me to pick them. This one was probably a bad pick. Rebecki early was just trying to grapple with him for absolutely no reason. I think early on, Grant Dawson, the size of him was and the length was giving Rebecki a little bit of problems early. He was throwing kicks to the head. He was throwing nice body kicks, Grant Dawson. And he looked okay on the feet early. He was still charging in shin first, and Rebecki was still tagging him here and there. But it wasn't looking too bad for Grant Dawson. But then round two, Rebecki almost kills Grant Dawson early on. And then again, much like Roman Kopylov, just clinches Grant Dawson, lets him stay alive. He was almost done there, and we know Grant Dawson doesn't have the right chin to get through that. And Rebecki just keeps him alive. He does sort of dominate round two. He was grappling really well in that round. He was landing some damage here and there. I think he even hurt him at the end of the round, Grant Dawson. But then round three, Rebecki tried to grapple again against Grant Dawson. Like, you've just heard him the round before. You've just seen your cleaner on the feet. And then Dawson was able to get the nice reversal. Goes to ground and pound late into the round and get the rear naked choke again late into the round. There was only 18 seconds left. And for Rebecki, the reason why I think that this was a bad pick, he has got all the tools to beat Grant Dawson. We saw that in the fight. He was getting reversed and he was getting outdone in grappling positions that he was initiating. He should not have ever initiated any of that. And Rebecki, the reason he loses these fights is because of his fight IQ. Like, you forget, he could have technically outstruck Chris Duncan, but Duncan brought Rebecki into a war. Against Ludovic Klein had a broken leg and then he doesn't stand up. He makes the fatal error of not standing up. The Carlos Diego Ferreira, he sort of rushed through the fight, got really tired easy, and then CDF just pinned him down and he brutalized him in the last round. Oralbai, he was defending all of the takedowns from Oralbai. He needed to just technically strike, not rush moments, not try and finish in every moment. Like, he could be very good. He's very fast, very explosive, but he just doesn't have the technical, doesn't have the fight IQ to be able to get it done over these higher level guys. Like a Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson is very good. He's just outside the rankings level. And Mateusz Rebecki, he is very good as well, but it's more on the talent side, less on the brain side of things there, which is a weird thing to say in a cage fight. Moving on to the next one, though, we've got Joel Alvarez versus Yaroslav Amosov. This was a very impressive performance from Amosov. Early on, he was looking very cautious, and Joel Alvarez, I was a little bit worried for Amosov just because Alvarez looked massive out there. I don't want to sound like Joe Rogan, but how did he ever make lightweight? And early on, Amosov had to resort to working into the clinch. He started like mat returning Alvarez, working well on the ground. But Alvarez, he was defending pretty well. But it was a good game plan from Amosov. He was always going to do that. And that game plan's always going to work well on the explosive, nasty, quick striker like Joel Alvarez. And round two, Alvarez looked really, really clean. Came out with some really hard shots, looping around the guard of Amosov. And Amosov, it looked like in moments he was wilting. And then he was landing some good shots back, though. He was gritting down, throwing some nice leg kicks. And then Amosov, when it was starting to look a little bit hairy, Joel Alvarez teeing off for a combination or so, Amosov just got a beautiful takedown on him and just instantly worked into the arm triangle and got the submission. It did take a while for him to cinch it up, but he was able to get it done on Joel Alvarez. And he is a really great prospect in the division. I hate that he already has the loss before the UFC got him. They should have got him years ago and slowly built him up because he's a really good prospect. He's got great finishing ability on the ground. Although sometimes in moments it's a little bit boring, he is always working to submissions and working to finish the fight. He's a very impressive fighter overall. He's ranked 14 right now. He needs to get a test in the welterweight division. He absolutely needs to, because he's going to look really good out there. Moving on, though, to the next one, we've got Tatsuro Taira versus Ozzy Diaz. I expected Tatsuro Taira to get this one done. Again, it wasn't the most impressive performance. I know it's a round 2 TKO, but it is Ozzy Diaz. And Ozzy early, I think what doesn't impress me is that early on he was blocking a lot of the strikes of Tatsuro Taira, doing a lot of just covering up, blocking. He was able to shuffle the shots off, and it wasn't really too bad for him early on. Taira's kicks did look slick, though. That is an improvement he's been making in his game, but he's not throwing them too regularly either. But Ozzy Diaz, he was landing some nice jabs. He was landing a right hand here and there. He doesn't really do too much on the feet, but he is quite clean in moments. But first round goes by. It was a decently close round, but Tatsuro Taira obviously landing the much bigger strikes, but they were pretty similar-ish on numbers. Ozzy Diaz, but with he was constantly moving backwards, and he just didn't really look good in moments of the first round. But then round 2, he just gets smoked over a really lazy jab with a right overhand from Tatsuro Taira. It was a really nice punch, but again, it's showing me Ozzy Diaz, I thought that he was going to be able to demolish him in round 1, 30 seconds in, like he did against Jose Medina. But we're seeing Tatsuro Taira, he is just another prospect with some really great power. You put him up against a good opponent next, and he is going to struggle. And I want to see it. I want to see him tough through some big moments, and I feel like it was a step back with this one than his last opponent. He was much tougher. He was a lot taller his last one. Puliaev is a much more difficult guy than Ozzy Diaz to figure out. Moving on, though, to the next one, we've got Bobby Green versus Jeremy Stephens. This was an absolute clinic from Bobby Green. He looked really good out there. Early on, he was putting some numbers on Jeremy Stephens. I did think he was going to get this one done by a decision, but he was able to out-grapple Jeremy Stephens. And early on, Stephens, he landed a shot here and there. He landed a really nice elbow in the clinch at one point, landed a hook after that. But after that, he didn't really land anything, and he was struggling with the range of Bobby Green. And the thing is that Jeremy Stephens has been fighting in boxing, bare knuckle, and all of these things are very different, and they're not on the same level as what the opponents that Bobby Green has been fighting. He's been fighting at the very top level. He's not missing weight by 4 pounds like Jeremy Stephens did. And Green started putting it on him halfway into the round. He was landing some nice body kicks that looks like they hurt Jeremy Stephens, and then he hits Jeremy Stephens in the balls. It was a pretty nasty shot. Joe Rogan, for some reason, was saying it didn't even hit, but Green just absolutely smashed Jeremy Stephens with a double leg after hitting him in the balls. They had the separation, minute and a half or so. And then upon the restart, Bobby Green lands a couple of shots, gets that takedown, and then gets ground and pound off. I thought he was going to finish him with the ground and pound, but Jeremy Stephens is pretty tough, and then he just gets the rear naked choke finish there. Very impressive performance from Bobby Green, and he's on a 3-fight winning streak. Who would have thought in 2026 Bobby Green would be riding a 3-fight winning streak, being super active? I want to see him get back in there soon. He didn't take any damage. I want to see it. He's been fighting really well recently. Moving on, though, to the 4th fight of the main card, we've got Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley. I thought Joaquin Buckley was going to be able to get this one done, but Sean Brady, he put on an absolute clinic on Joaquin Buckley, and we see that Buckley, his takedown defense hasn't improved as much as you would think after the Kamaru Usman fight. Early on in round 1, Brady was shooting a couple of takedowns early. Shot like 2 or 3 bad ones. They all got stuffed by Buckley. But then he did eventually get him down after like a minute or so of just like standing on the feet. But on the feet, I will say, Sean Brady didn't look bad at all against Buckley. He was circling off nicely. He was landing some nice lead hooks. He was doing not too badly. It didn't look like he was hurting Buckley at all. But he was holding his own, and that's a massive difference from the Michael Morales fight. Michael Morales fight, he really didn't gain Morales' respect at any moment. And then after like a couple of minutes worth of striking, maybe like a minute or so, he was able to get Joaquin Buckley down. And the thing is that Joaquin Buckley, when he throws so much into his shots. He's throwing so much rotation, and it opens up for Sean Brady just to run him over with a takedown like he did in the first round. And he got into mount. He progressed through Buckley's guards so easily. He was threatening Kimura's at one point. He was going for the mount at others, and he was just raining down like small pitter-patter ground and pound shots at the end of the round, and it was really nasty round from Sean Brady. In round 2, he did the exact same, backed it up, got Joaquin Buckley straight down. Joaquin was swinging hard early, but Brady, once he was able to get him down, he was just pinning him down and using Joaquin Buckley as a punching bag. I will say, I know everyone's going to say this, Sean Brady, work on your ground and pound. You need more ground and pound. You could have got him out of there in the second round, and that would look like a very threatening performance there. But Brady was like properly punching and elbowing at the end of round 2, and it was almost finishing Joaquin Buckley, but he wasn't going for it too much. He just dominated him in that second round, and he did the same in the third round. Took him down pretty early. I think Joaquin Buckley got it up at one moment and then just got taken straight back down. That was in round 2, but round 3 he just got dominated. And Joaquin Buckley, we've seen this time and time again in his career, him getting out grappled. It's a serious issue that he has to address. And maybe working out of that tiny gym isn't going to work out for him. And Sean Brady impressed me out there. I didn't think he was going to be able to get it done after his last performance over Michael Morales. Thought he just doesn't have the grit for this game, but he isn't making improvements out there. And I want to see him next against someone who's going to test him, but not one of these guys like a Prates or a Morales rematch. I know that they wouldn't do that, but I want to see a reasonable 2 to 3 fights next for Sean Brady, see if we can get him to the top. Moving on, though, to the feature fight, we've got Alexander Volkov versus Waldo Cortes Acosta. This was a good performance from Alexander Volkov. It was a very close fight. I don't see it when people are saying that this one was a robbery. Round 1, I thought Volkov easily won the round. He was slamming low kicks and slamming some good body kicks as well, working at range. He was landing really nicely in that first round, and he was probably landing double the amount of shots as Waldo. Waldo, he did have this cleaner boxing in the first round. He was landing some nice jabs, landing some good overhands in moments. And Volkov's boxing, it did look a little bit weak in that first round. But then second round came along, Volkov's jab was starting to land. He was landing the right hand. He hurt Waldo at one point. And his low kicks were starting to get to Waldo. You could see him standing a little bit gingerly on his leg. And at one point, Volkov even head kicked Waldo. The leg kick damage was adding up for him in that second round. Everything was going very, very well for him. You cannot score that second round for Waldo. And then that third round, you can score this one for Waldo. It was a very close round. But Waldo was doing a little bit more visible damage on the face of Volkov. And Waldo was actually landing a couple of clean shots here and there, even though Volkov was outstriking him on the back foot. And I thought that this was always how the fight was going to go down. Volkov is a level above Waldo. You can see, especially from the way that they move around, the footwork, the way that Volkov works the body and the legs initially into the fight, slows you down. He'll use his clinch in moments. He didn't do that in this fight. I thought it would have worked for him. I thought he should have used more body shots as well. Waldo, although he was like pointing at his body, being like it didn't hurt, that's always what people say before they get finished, especially when they're, the build of Waldo Cortes Acosta. But Volkov looked good out there. I don't think a title shot, he shouldn't be waiting for that one, but he should get a matchup that would get him to a title shot, like a title elimination bout, like set in stone as well. He beat Ciryl Gane. He should be getting all of these opportunities, but Ciryl robbed him. And I think Ciryl Gane, as much as I think Volkov beat him, I think he's a more interesting fight for Pereira and for Aspinall. I think Volkov gets beaten by both Pereira and Aspinall pretty easily. But nonetheless, very impressive performance from Alexander Volkov there. Now, co-main event, I couldn't be more wrong, but I couldn't be more happy that I am wrong. Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira. By the way, I got Volkov by a decision, 29-28. But Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira. I thought that Taira was going to go out there and destroy Joshua Van. I'm coming back here with my tail between my legs. And early on, Taira was looking really good. Nasty leg kicks early. He looked comfortable on the feet before the fight, before I even jump into it. I must say he looked super nervous. I've also got to blow my nose. I'm dying of allergies the last 7 days. Probably longer than that, but... But straight away, Tatsuro Taira was looking really sharp. He got a takedown early. He went straight away into mount from the takedown. Van did look super calm, and one thing I was about to say but didn't say, Taira looked nervous before the fight. He looked really nervous. He almost slipped over. At one point, his corner dropped a water bottle. Like, everything that was happening, it was looking like he was a little bit jittery. But when the fight started, he looked pretty calm, but Van looked even more calm. Especially in that first round when he was defending all of the takedowns and he didn't defend the takedowns, but defending the grappling in general. And he wasn't taking much damage from Taira. And we saw when Taira had Brandon Moreno on the ground, he checkmated him and made him... He was beating him up to the strikes. Do I think that those would have finished Moreno? No. But I do think that he would have still beaten Moreno really bad and he could have finished him in that position. And Joshua Van was never even looking like that. And in that first round, I was so unbelievably impressed that he was still able to, he would get mounted and he would work back to butterfly hooks. And he would get mounted again and he would work back to half guard. And he would shrimp up. He would try to get back up to his feet. He would end up getting back up to his feet. And he was making Taira work really, really hard for the grappling, which was so impressive to me. I did not expect that. I thought Taira, because my thoughts around Joshua Van is that he is 24 years old, been training for 5 years. He's only been grappling for 5 years. Taira has been grappling for double that amount of time. And I just thought the grappling difference was going to be there. Did not show that much. Round 2, Van was doing well again to defend the takedowns. Tatsuro Taira was still controlling the round for the first couple of minutes. He was landing some good shots early and he was still getting the takedowns, landing some low kicks here and there. And Taira was quite explosive with the takedowns. And Van was still doing really well to stay safe. And at the end of the round, he did end up getting back up and he just smoked Taira. Taira looks like he relaxed in that second round at the end of the round. There was I think there was probably 20 seconds left and it looks like he was shaking his arms out, being like, okay, that was a good couple of minutes of control. Let me stay safe, regain composure. Nah. Van just comes over the top, lands a massive shot, basically knocks him out cold. And I'm thinking, oh my god, Taira's about to get smoked in the next round. Round 3, Taira just gets beaten pillar to post for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Instantly in the round, Joshua Van picks up where he left off, and he's just snapping Taira's head back with every single punch. And I think that Taira is going to get finished really badly. He ends up, I think he drops Taira in the round or hurts him really bad. Taira goes for a bad takedown, and Joshua Van ends up working his way around to the back, going for a rear naked choke on Tatsuro Taira. He just didn't have the hooks in, so he couldn't get the finish. And he ended up losing position. They get back to the feet. He sort of blew his load a little bit, trying to get Taira out of there. I think at one point it was 54 punches to 1, and I really thought it was going to be another JDM versus Prates finish where it's just too many shots in the end of the round. But Taira makes it to the end of round 3, and he gets a nice takedown on Van with 20 seconds left to go, even though Van works his way back up. But he sort of looks like he's regaining composure, Tatsuro Taira. He is tough as nails. And then round 4, Taira came out, landed some hard shots, and he did get a takedown, I think, in that one. Yes, in round 4, he landed the takedown, got to mount. And Taira, it was his moment to be able to win the fight back. Went for a triangle, and Van, he had one hand in, one hand fully all the way in, and it was just a bad moment for Tatsuro Taira. He was so close to locking up that triangle, but then Joshua Van was able to escape it. And the way that it went for the rest of the fight was that he would look really good for 15 seconds after getting up from a takedown or after doing something Taira would. He would look really sharp. He would land 2 to 3 good shots. And then Joshua Van, after a couple of seconds, after 15 or so seconds, he would find his timing again and just start landing massive shots over the top. And round 5, Joshua Van looks much more fresh, especially on the face. Tatsuro Taira had completely red welts all over his face. And Joshua Van, he did look a little bit tired, but he wasn't too bad at all. And instantly his takedown defense looks really, really nice. He's defending really well, landing some massive shots on Tatsuro Taira. Taira was swinging back, but he was missing those shots. And Van, when I knew it was over, he started nailing Tatsuro Taira to the body, and you could see Taira just folding over with those shots, especially the straight punch. I don't know if you saw it just before the finishing sequence, but just before he went both the uppercut to the body and then the hooks to the body, he threw this really nasty straight punch to the body just after throwing a straight right hand that hurt Taira, and it just set up the finishing sequence. The ref did prematurely stop the fight, but I do hate that in a title fight, especially when Taira had taken that much damage. You got to make him wear it. And all the people on Twitter are saying it's 2-2. So if he does knock down Joshua Van after that and he wins the round due to control, like, he still could have won that, but I'm not too annoyed. I do just think that you can't stop it there if you've let him take that much damage. Like, it's another 2-3 shots that you have to give him. All he did was get dropped to a knee. He was coming back up. In the second round when he got dropped, that was way worse by like tenfold. So I think you could have kept it going there, but I kind of get it. Sorry, my allergies are literally killing me all day today. Taira, though, one thing he needs to work on. You've got your hands below your waist, but you're a guy with no head movement. So you're just going to get caught every time by a guy like Joshua Van. But nonetheless, Joshua Van, such an impressive performance. I don't know who I would pick to beat him now. Because Pantoja, my reasoning for him winning would be that I thought that his back-taking system was going to be able to get him down. And the thing is that I thought that Taira, his way of taking the back, I thought that that was just as good, if not better, than Pantoja's. And Van shut that down in this fight. There was no moment where Taira was really, really threatening too badly with chokes. He did get a face crank, I think, at one point, but he wasn't really too close to anything. And Joshua Van, he was just so clean out there. Takedown defense, super, really, really clean. He looks strong as well, a little bit bigger than his last fights. And I don't even know if I can pick Pantoja to beat him, even though Pantoja is so good. I'm going to talk about that during the week. But very impressive performance from Joshua Van there. Now, let's talk about the main event, the one that we all want to talk about. Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. This was such a good fight. I've seen some people complaining about this and be like, I'm not going to watch this one back. Terrible performance. I thought that this one was a fun fight, even though it was scrappy in moments. They were both working really hard. Early on as well, there was some nice scrambling, some nice grappling exchanges early. Round one, Khamzat got a really easy, not easy, but Khamzat got his usual takedown like 10-15 seconds into the round. Worked really hard to keep it throughout the round. It was sort of like the Usman fight where Sean Strickland was on like his hands and knees and Khamzat Chimaev was trying to get the takedown. He would hook his leg in between. He would try to get both hooks in. Couldn't quite get it. He was working really hard for those. Sean Strickland was looking for switches in moments. He was fighting it with everything he could. And he was staying really, really calm before the fight. And especially when on the ground, in moments he got his back taken in that first round. And Khamzat Chimaev, he wouldn't really lock the body lock in initially. He did later into the fight. But when he did, or later into the round, when he did get the back though, he doesn't really love having that position. He prefers to have like the body lock or have like a more dominant position than the back, just because I think it gasses his legs a little bit too much. So Strickland was able to work out of those positions, regain side control, regain half guard. He was working really, really well, getting back to his knees. He was making Khamzat Chimaev work so hard, just as hard as like a Kamaru Usman, maybe a little bit harder and a little bit less close to getting submitted. He did defend the rear naked choke at the end of the first round really well. And compared to the GDP fight, he was just a lot more rolling around. He was jittering a lot more. He was risking more positions to get submitted early, especially whilst he was still fresh. And he did really well making sure Chimaev worked hard. Round two, Chimaev, you could tell he was trying to recover early. He expended a lot of energy in the first part, well, in the whole of the first round. And he didn't shoot until a minute 30 into the round, and it wasn't a very powerful shot. And Strickland defended that takedown really, really well. And Strickland ended up, Chimaev like sort of rolled to his back off of the bad takedown attempt, and Strickland held him down for like a minute or so. Chimaev eventually worked himself back to the feet, but then when they got back to the feet, he shot back in, and again, really bad takedown attempt, and he just flops to his back. And Strickland, again, follows him down, lands some good ground and pound, and actually holds him down for the rest of the round. I think Khamzat, in ways, was taking that round off because he looked much sharper and cleaner in the third round. But for Strickland to defend those takedowns early and to make him work that hard to the point where in the second round he's pulling guard, basically. Well, he did actually pull guard after missing the second takedown in the second round. And then round three, Chimaev, he did look recovered after that. He was trusting his striking more. He was trudging forward. He was landing some nice uppercuts. He was landing some really good jabs as well. And he was snapping Strickland's head back with a lot of different shots. Chimaev also throwing some body shots as well, some straight shots to the body, and it was bringing Strickland's guard down a little bit. But Strickland in that third round still outlanding him, in my opinion. I think both of them were almost even in the jabs at one moment, and then there was like a 2-minute period towards the end of the round where Strickland was just landing at will as Khamzat Chimaev was coming forward. Khamzat was coming forward and his head was just getting snapped back every couple of seconds by a shot. Both of them broke each other's noses in that round. It was a very close round, but I really do think that Strickland took that one. Round 4, Khamzat was judging... Sorry, I'm really dying right now, but... Round 4, Khamzat was trudging forward really, really well. He was looking much, much cleaner on the feet than he was in round 3, somehow gaining more cardio back. The work with Sam Calavita has been working for him, and he was landing some really nice shots. He was actually starting to land a lot of good kicks on Strickland, landing some really good leg kicks, really good body kicks as well. Strickland still landing, but he was getting bloodied up at this point. Both of them were getting bloodied up. There was marks all over Khamzat's forehead. But the shots of Khamzat in the round 4 looked like they were taking more of a toll on Strickland. So then he wins that round, and it was looking like it was 2-2 going into the 5th. And then round 5, Khamzat early, really crafty, gets a takedown. Strickland stands up pretty quickly. Khamzat gets another takedown, mat return here and there. Strickland, though, when they were on the feet, it was probably about a minute or so of control time, maybe a minute and a half from Khamzat. And Strickland was just landing better. He was popping Khamzat's head back with every single shot. It looked like he wasn't missing anything. And he was throwing his right hand here and there. He did need to throw it more. He did need more teeps as well. He wasn't really getting taken down whilst he was on one leg. And Khamzat Chimaev, he was looking clean, but he just wasn't throwing enough to be able to win that one. And he had so much visible damage in the 5th round. Sean Strickland was just busting him up every single shot, just peppering him up, not overextending, making sure if he got taken down, he would get back up quickly, breaking the grips. He was separating from the clinch quickly in that 5th round. And you just saw everything that you wanted to see from a guy who was likely 2-2 coming into the 5th. And it was such a good performance from Sean Strickland. He has done it again. Another performance where, like the Israel Adesanya win, where he just he pulls off the win as a massive underdog. Very, very impressive. And with all of the stuff that he was talking about before the fight, for him to come in with that much pressure and perform like he did, so unbelievably impressive from Sean Strickland. And I'm super excited to see that because, like, look, Khamzat, he did have a fun fight here, but if it was up to him, I think he would have made this a very boring fight. And Sean Strickland, he defended the takedowns. He did what he needed to do. He has that wrestling experience to be able to deal with a guy like Khamzat Chimaev. But Khamzat, if he won that, we're talking about him going up to light heavyweight. Although I think he would have lost that now, it wouldn't have been the same as now that Sean Strickland's back. We've got... Do they run the rematch? Don't run the rematch. Do they do Imavov versus Strickland? I think they should do that. There's a lot of different things that they can work on with this one. And for Khamzat, people are going to be talking about, oh, it was the weight cut, that's why he did it. He doesn't look that big. I don't subscribe to that it was just a weight cut. If he was cutting down from 240, don't get that fat. You're not that big. You do not need to be 240. So he needs to lose some weight or go up to light heavyweight. And I don't think maybe he does decently well at light heavyweight, but you give him a guy like Magomed Ankalaev, you give him even a guy like Azamat Murzakanov, he's got great takedown defense. I think they smoke Khamzat Chimaev. Bigger bodies, harder to move around, harder to manipulate. A guy like Sean Strickland's strong, but not as strong as some of those light heavyweights. Khamzat would struggle with that. He could beat some opponents, but he's not going to do that. I think middleweight's his division. He just needs to lock in more. And I don't think that that's the reason why. I also don't think he made weight, so I can't even use that you can't use that as an excuse. I don't think he made weight, so how can the extra weight that he's holding be affecting him when he didn't even make the weight? The scale was still going up. So I don't want to hear the cope from people, but we will still hear it. It was a great fight nonetheless, and I loved that Khamzat wrapped the belt around Sean Strickland. No love lost between them. I think that they were boys coming into this one. They didn't actually really hate each other, but I think they just had an agreement, if we do fight, we'll make it a big one. And there was all respect after the fight. Khamzat, he did show, he didn't give a speech, but wrapping the belt around Strickland, that's a real man's move. So I respect it. Let me know what you thought of the card as a whole. I thought it was a very entertaining card top to bottom. There were some lulls in the action. There were some bad fights here and there. But overall, it was really enjoyable. Let me know what you thought of it. As always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and a comment. And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.